ground shake.
Hello YouTube, I have here today a Autostudio 15-inch subwoofer. It is Mark II, it is Unlimited Series Mark II, and it is a quite brand new model of this 15-inch subwoofer from Autostudio, and we'll be checking out what has been changed since the last 15-inch Unlimited Series. There are also a 12-inch version of this, and the old ones 12 and 15-inch subwoofers had a FS like up in the 60s to 70s, so it was really high FS subwoofer, but they were quite beefy ones. But what has changed? And actually I have measured parameters of this, and we got a little bit of video in the about it when I draw it in. Now let's first check it out what's in here. So it has a nice it is paper dust cap here with a nice yellow finish up in here in the cone. It is more like a aesthetic and a little bit of more strengthening because it has two layers. It is underneath, it is just simple paper cone. The surround up in here is around, it is 25 millimeters and the height is around 20 millimeters, so it is quite small surround up in here with a, actually I'm not sure if many subwoofers use this grayish type of a surround up in here. Double stitching all around, of course. It is more like a normal to have a double stitched subwoofer nowadays. So underneath here we can see a universal basket. It is a standard basket of many types of subwoofers, 15-inch sized. It has direct leads, and when I check the leads somewhere in here, it is I think it is a copper leads going out. It has this PVC surrounding here, PVC that is a little bit stiff. If it has a silicone covering over it, it would be quite more flexible, but this is quite stiff. But the strands inside here looks like they are copper in my mind. So underneath here we can see spiders with a double leads from the voice coil down in here. These spiders are quite soft actually for having this beefy subwoofer with a 6000 watts peak limit for the coil, and it moves with my hand easily here. It has two sets of spiders, one up in here and one down below. It has some kind of maybe 7 millimeter spacing between here. Everything is glued up really nicely. There's all around glue here, so it is completely sealed. Now if I test the glue here, I probably will see, I think it is a epoxy or some kind of, yes, it is very hard glue, so I think it is epoxy glue down in here or CA glue. Now when we see down there, we can actually see that it has a black glue in here, so probably it is black CA glue, where the coil is connected to the spiders. It is very stiff in here, maybe ever slightly elastic. But it looks like that it's a CA glue or CA based glue. And underneath here we can see the this is more rubberized glue, where these has been connected to the top plate, but it's black also. This is more like a normal standard black CA glue down in here. Now as you can see a little bit of the 4-inch voice coil down in there. The only things that I found from the internet was that this is 4-inch ceramic voice coil with a power handling of 3000 watt RMS and a 6000 watt peak. Now I'm not sure if it's the lac on here that is the ceramic, or what does it a ceramic type, but you can see here there's a little line here where the voice coil is clean here and the lac from the coil has been on here, so it kind of looks like it is a copper coil. but I think it is flat aluminium voice coil anyhow, because maybe if I can scratch it a little bit here. Scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. It looks like that it is a copper voice coil. No, maybe that one looks like it is a aluminium voice coil. Well, I'm not sure. There has no information about it from the internet if it is a flat aluminium or copper voice coil. Only thing we knew that it is a ceramic voice coil in a 4-inch size. Now with this small surround up in here and big voice coil, we need to have very big spiders here to have it have a little bit of excursion, and when I drove it in I found out that it actually does a really quite nice of excursion with even with this small surround up in here. So it is very capable subwoofer anyhow. And when I look down in here I can see the top plate that is quite thick. It's actually 20 millimeters thick if I remember correctly. I can measure it anyhow here. So it's around, I'm actually using a plastic vise here. Vise, I'm not sure if this is called vise in English. 20 millimeters, 19-20 millimeters the top plate, and the back plate here is quite smaller, but if I turn it around we can see that it has a nice big hole in center here with a nice little flare, and all of these ring outside here, all of these holes to get a good cooling into the voice coil from inner and outside of the voice coil. And now the voice coil also has a holes on it, as you can see over there, so it will probably make stand a lot of heat from the amplifier, and it will probably be okay, and I'm really confident about to say that it will handle the 3000 watt RMS or the 6000 peak. Now if you have a, let's say, normal enclosure like a four-door bandpass or a normal ported enclosure, you probably need like a up to 6000 watt amplifier to get the 3000 watt inside here. It has a dual 1 ohm voice coil, and actually we can now see the parameters over here. I wanted to say that you can find it on here. If you want to buy it, it costs 449 euros, so it is a cheap for the big voice coil. Normally this kind of power handling costs around 600 euros, so it's like 150 euros cheaper, and it looks good, and it performed into the really nice when I drove it in. Now if I go down in here, it does not give me any parameters, so I measured them by myself with a DATS V2, and I got that I hooked it in parallel mode, and it gave me 0.75 ohms resist. So it tells me that it has slightly over 1 ohm voice coil, or around let's say 1.4 maybe a little bit less voice coil. 2 times 1.4 ohm voice coil, which is quite good actually when you can use one of these and play it with normal amplifier that is stable at 1 ohm, because it is not very far away from 1 ohm impedance when you put it in parallel. Now also what I can see here, that it has VAS of 42 liters. Moving mass is around 400 grams, so it is quite heavy. The voice coil is quite heavy. The QMS is 5.0, QES is 0.9, and the QTS is 0.78 with a FS of 38 Hz. Now the older models of Unlimited series, they had like 68 Hz was the 12-inch one, no, the 15-inch one was 68 Hz, and 74 or something was the 12-inch series. So if you have a subwoofer with a FS up to 75 Hz, so it is a really big mid-range speaker. Now they also performed really well, but the sound was quite tight, if I say so. But now when the FS is down to 38 with a nice big excursion, as you can see on the video after this, it is a very capable subwoofer. I'm actually gonna make a enclosure for the subwoofer, and my software here says that text box what is suitable for this is around 140 liters. So I will probably make a little bit bigger enclosure and try to cut it down to find the sweet spot for this kind of subwoofer. And I will be making 160 liter subwoofer and trying first a 60 Hertz ported enclosure. I'm trying to take the peak out, play the actually as loud as I can with this subwoofer to check it out if I can hit like up to 150, 155. Probably not 160. I only got like 2 or 4,000 watt RMS amplifiers, maybe a little bit more for this, but I will be trying to get as high decibels as I can with this subwoofer. Stay tuned for that and follow our channel. I will be making videos about this more and more content in Instagram, also in Facebook. And if you want to see the parameters yourself, I will be posting them on our Facebook page, and you will see more images of this beast subwoofer in our Facebook page also. And after that, when I will make the big enclosure with the high tuning, I will be making maybe 1 or 2 of these and a little bit lower tuning on the enclosure, like down to 32, 35 Hertz, and play a little bit lower notes. But I would say that this subwoofer is very good subwoofer for a single subwoofer, for single amplifier to use, and it will play all the frequencies that normal music has, like from 30 Hertz up to 50, 60 Hertz very easily. Even if it has a little bit higher the frequency, only the lower ones will be slightly distorted, but into the lower ones we want some mechanical strength, and I can put very much output into this subwoofer to get that oomph into the lower range. Probably it will need a little bit more power when you are playing it low, and if you play it in really low enclosure like in 20 Hertz, it will probably need a tons of power, but it is good and bad thing to have a tons of power. If you have a very low FS subwoofer, it will play really well lows with a lower amplifier, but if you want to put a high output numbers in the low section, you need this kind of subwoofer which is somewhere into the mid-range, so it can handle the big power still, and you won't lose the control of the subwoofer so easily. If you have a lower FS, I think, and I've seen that if you have a big enclosure and low tuning with a low FS of subwoofer, you will lose control of music, and it will be slightly off-phased in normal music, normal type of music, and the highs will sound really bad if you're using a very low note enclosure for subwoofers in general, actually. Well, this has been quite of a blast, and I'm looking forward to making a enclosure for this subwoofer. This was Autostudio Unlimited Series Mark II, and we see you on the next video and on the videos when I'll be making a enclosure for this beast. See you on the next video. Bye bye.